Welcome to the Bible Right Way channel. Among all the legendary tales and deeds of King David, one story that echoes through the centuries is his iconic confrontation with Goliath, the fearsome Philistine giant. This battle not only marked the life of the young shepherd, who was destined to reign, but also shaped Israel's future as a victorious nation over its enemies. But what if I told you that this well-known story is only half the tale? Few people know that Goliath wasn't the only giant David faced. In fact, he encountered other colossal warriors, also descendants of the Nephilim. Among these formidable adversaries was a giant who happened to be Goliath's brother, a monstrous being who nearly succeeded in killing David. Why are these details often omitted from most accounts? What does this reveal about the existence of giants in ancient times? There's much more to this narrative than what we've been taught. If you're ready to uncover this hidden truth, stay with me in this video. Don't forget to leave a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel, because what we're about to reveal might change your perspective on biblical events and human history itself. The revenge of Goliath's brother, the story you never heard. Among the defining moments of David's life, his rise to the throne is perhaps the most surprising. David was a humble shepherd from the tribe of Judah, the youngest son of Jesse, and a direct descendant of the royal line of Judah. Against all odds, he was chosen by God to succeed Saul, who had lost favor due to disobedience. Not only was David a shepherd, but he was also a talented musician and poet, whose compositions are immortalized in the Psalms. However, his destiny extended far beyond music. He would become Israel's greatest ruler, a king after God's own heart. David's journey was marked by numerous challenges, wars, and victories that shaped the history of Israel. Among his many battles, none was as emblematic as his confrontation with Goliath. At that time, David was a young man, possibly between the ages of 15 and 17, with no formal military training. Yet, he dared to face Goliath, a Philistine giant who had instilled fear in the hearts of Israel's soldiers. Armed with only a sling and 5 stones, David defeated the fearsome Goliath, proving that faith and courage can triumph over any obstacle. But who exactly was Goliath? This towering giant was feared for his incredible height, immense strength, and unmatched combat skills. However, his mystery went beyond his brute force. Goliath was part of the ancient Rephaim, a race of giants mentioned in biblical texts and historical records. What many don't realize is that Goliath wasn't the only giant around. He had brothers and relatives who shared his mysterious origin. These giants, whose presence is traced back to the days of Moses and Abraham, played significant roles in the conflicts of the Promised Land. David's victory over Goliath was more than a personal achievement. It was a turning point in Israel's battle against these legendary beings. The origin of these giants has long been shrouded in mystery, but many scholars of Scripture agree that they likely emerged after the Great Flood. These giants were the result of a forbidden union between fallen angels and human women, creating a hybrid race with extraordinary abilities. The term Rephaim itself carries ominous meanings, suggesting ties to ancient entities from before the flood, somehow reappearing in the post-flood world. Goliath wasn't the last of his kind. After his death, his brothers sought revenge against David. In one of Israel's many battles with the Philistines, one of these giants came dangerously close to killing David, but thanks to the intervention of David's loyal warriors, his life was spared. These giants weren't mere mercenaries for the Philistines. Their presence pointed to something far deeper. In ancient times, they were revered as demigods or superior beings by certain peoples, such as the Canaanites, who welcomed them into their ranks. The wars between Israel and its neighbors were not just territorial disputes. They were spiritual battles, pitting the chosen people of God against dark forces with roots in pre-flood times. These stories continue to fascinate scholars and archaeologists who seek evidence of giants' existence in ancient history. The Bible makes it clear that giants not only existed but played crucial roles in shaping the conflicts and civilizations of the ancient world. Now, I invite you to dive deeper into one of the most overlooked moments in David's journey, an event that highlights not only the battles he fought, but also the legacy of giants who continued to threaten Israel. In the book of 2 Samuel 21 verses 15 to 22, we find a dangerous encounter with one of Goliath's descendants. After years of ruling and leading Israel into battle, David, now older and weary, faced yet another Philistine threat. During this battle, a formidable warrior named ISB-benob, a descendant of the Rephaim like Goliath, appeared with a bronze spear weighing about 13 pounds and a newly forged sword. He sought to avenge his brother's death and kill the aging king of Israel. David, exhausted and vulnerable, was on the verge of death, but at the crucial moment, his nephew, Abishai, son of Zeruiah, intervened and saved him. With a swift strike, ISB-benob was brought down, saving the king from certain death. In light of this event, David's soldiers made a solemn vow. They would never again allow him to return to the battlefield, for he was the lamp of Israel, and his loss would be irreplaceable. However, the threat of giants was far from over. Not long after, another war erupted with the Philistines, resulting in the death of another giant, Saph. Then, during a battle at Gob, Elhanan, son of Jeroham, defeated another mighty warrior, identified as Goliath the Gittite. Yet one more challenge awaited. In another battle at Gath, a warrior of immense stature, with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, rose to challenge Israel. But he too was slain by Jonathan, son of David's brother Shemaiah. These 4 giants were born to the same family in Gath, and they all fell by the hands of David and his men. 2 Samuel 21 verse 22. This string of events reveals that, despite their strength, the giants were defeated not by brute force, but by the faith and courage of those who trusted in the God of Israel. These events also uncover an intriguing truth. Goliath was not an isolated case. His brothers and kin continued to threaten Israel, even after his death. The presence of these giants in biblical history suggests that they represented a persistent danger, and the battles against them hold mysteries that remain largely unexplored. Few are aware of the full story of these ancient giants, their connection to the Rephaim, and the deeper significance of their lineage in ancient times. Who were these giants? Where did they come from? How did their kind endure through the ages? If you want to dive deeper into their history and the enigmas surrounding their origins, stay tuned, as I will soon provide a detailed analysis of this nearly forgotten lineage and their battles against Israel. I'm sure you'll be amazed. This narrative, nearly erased from common memory, reveals one of the most dramatic moments in King David's life. Many know of David's famous victory over Goliath, the Philistine giant who challenged Israel's army, only to be slain by a young shepherd with a sling and 5 smooth stones. But few know that, years later, King David faced another giant, just as formidable as Goliath, and determined to avenge the death of his brother. This giant's name was ISB-benob. Like Goliath, he came from the lineage of the Rephaim, a race of giants whose existence stretches back to ancient times and somehow survived the Great Flood. The Philistines, recognizing the immense strength of these giants, not only enlisted them as mercenaries, but also revered them as demigods due to their immense size and extraordinary strength. However, ISB-benob wasn't just a hired soldier. This battle was personal. His thirst for vengeance against David burned fiercely. He wanted to destroy the man who had dared to humiliate his race by killing Goliath. The confrontation occurred during an intense battle between Israel and the Philistines. David was no longer the fearless young warrior of his youth. Years of war had taken their toll, and on that day, exhaustion made him vulnerable. The weight of age and countless battles began to wear on him. At that critical moment, ISB-benob advanced, his weapon a monstrous spear with a bronze tip weighing nearly 13 pounds, capable of tearing through armor with ease. He also wielded a freshly forged sword designed to annihilate any opponent in his path. ISB-benob was no ordinary foe. He towered between 9 and 11.5 feet tall, his presence so intimidating that even the bravest soldiers trembled in his shadow. Though David fought valiantly, fatigue began to overtake him. Just as hope seemed lost, Abishai, son of Zeruiah, rushed to his side. In a bold act of heroism, Abishai struck down the giant before he could deliver a fatal blow, saving David from certain death. This moment marked a turning point for the Israelites. Realizing that their king could no longer risk his life in direct combat, The soldiers swore an oath that David would never again endanger himself on the battlefield. He was their guiding light, and losing him would have been an irreparable blow. Thus, the story of the giants didn't end with Goliath. Other descendants of this formidable lineage continued to confront Israel, but the courage and faith of God's people ensured that one by one, the giants were defeated. These often overlooked battles reveal not only the power of the giants but also the enduring strength of a king who, even in his weakest moments, inspired his warriors to fight until the very end. This wasn't the last time the giants crossed Israel's path. Goliath's brothers continued to rise, and other descendants of the Rephaim still posed a threat. But on that day, one of the last great giants met his end, signaling the closing chapter of the giants' era. I hope you enjoyed this account of the battle involving ISB-benob, the giant slain by David's nephew, Abishai, who came to the king's aid just when it was most needed. The people of Israel swore that David would no longer lead them into battle, ensuring that the lamp of Israel would never be extinguished.